Why did you reject my son? The man asking me was Dante Romano, the 52-year-old mafia boss who controlled New York's eastern docks, 3 construction unions, and enough frightened politicians to make his name more useful than a warrant. His tattooed hand rested against the side of my throat. He was not squeezing. He did not have to. His thumb lay over my pulse, feeling every secret I had failed to hide. My name was Sophia Bennett. I was 29. I had worked as Dante's chief operations coordinator for 3 years, and less than 5 minutes earlier, I had publicly rejected his only son in front of 180 guests. Now Adrian Romano stood somewhere beyond the closed study door with his dead mother's diamond ring still in his hand. Dante's dark eyes held mine. Answer me. I should have lied. I should have said Adrian was too impulsive, that marriage would complicate my job, that I needed more time. All of those things were true. None of them were the reason, because accepting him would have been dishonest. Dante's thumb shifted once against my pulse. That is not an answer. It is the only one I can give you. No. His voice dropped. It is the one you prepared before you walked into this room. Warm light from the desk lamp caught the silver in his hair and the black rose tattooed across the back of his hand. I had seen that hand sign contracts worth millions. I had seen it press a clean handkerchief against the head of a frightened child after a charity event turned chaotic. I had seen it remain perfectly still while men twice my size begged him for mercy. I had never seen it tremble. Until now. Why did you reject my son, Sophia? The question was quiet, but everything about Dante Romano became more dangerous when he went quiet. I looked at the study door. His fingers moved beneath my jaw, turning my face back toward him. Do not look for an exit while I am asking you for the truth. I always know where the exits are. I know. His gaze sharpened. That is one of the reasons I hired you. That should have made this easier. It did not. 3 years of professional distance stood between us. 3 years of late meetings, silent car rides, impossible schedules, and moments I had buried before they could become hopes. Adrian had sent flowers. Dante had remembered that lilies gave my mother headaches. Adrian had offered to pay her rehabilitation bills. Dante had promoted me after I rebuilt an entire port conference in 48 hours, giving me the salary to pay those bills myself. Adrian wanted to rescue me. Dante had always understood that I wanted the power to rescue myself. My throat tightened beneath his hand. Because I wanted you, I whispered. For the first time since I had known him, Dante Romano looked unprepared. His fingers stopped moving. His breathing changed so slightly another person might have missed it. I did not. I had spent 3 years noticing everything about him. Say it again, he said. A floorboard creaked behind us. Dante's hand dropped from my throat as he turned. The study door stood open. Adrian was in the doorway. He was 31, dark-haired, beautiful in the polished way magazines liked, and pale enough that the bruise forming around his pride seemed visible beneath his skin. His mother's ring was clenched in his right fist. One sharp edge had cut his palm, and a thin line of blood crossed his wrist. No one spoke. The music from the ballroom reached us through the hall, soft strings playing for an engagement that no longer existed. Adrian looked at me first. You should have told me before I got on one knee. I tried to speak to you yesterday. You told me we needed to discuss the guest list. Because you would not let me finish. His mouth curved, but there was no humor in it. I thought you were nervous. I was. About marrying me? About humiliating you. The honesty hit him harder than cruelty would have. Dante stepped between us. Adrian, no. Adrian's eyes moved to his father. Do not use that voice with me now. What voice? The one that makes everyone believe you are the only man in the room allowed to feel anything. Dante's jaw tightened. Adrian opened his bloody fist. The diamond sat in his palm, bright and useless. That was my mother's ring. I know, I said. I spent 6 months trying to show you what a life with me could look like. You spent 6 months telling me what it would look like. You never asked whether I wanted it. His expression cracked for half a second. Then he closed his fist around the ring again. And all that time, he said, looking at Dante, you were waiting. I was doing no such thing. You had your hand around her throat. Dante went still. "It was not what you think," I said. Adrian laughed once, a broken sound. "You just told him you wanted him." There is not much left for me to misunderstand. He turned before either of us could answer. Dante moved after him. I caught his sleeve. He looked down at my hand. The contact was small, but it stopped him. "Do not chase him angry," I said. "He is my son." "Then go to him as his father, not his boss." Something painful passed through Dante's face. He pulled his sleeve gently from my fingers and left. I remained in the study alone, trying to breathe. 5 minutes earlier, the Romano Foundation's winter benefit had been proceeding exactly as I had designed it. The ballroom at the Romano estate glowed with amber light. A quartet played near the windows. Judges, donors, city officials, and men whose money could never survive a legitimate audit had raised crystal glasses beneath garlands of white roses. I had approved the flowers, the seating plan, the security rotations, and the menu. I had not approved a proposal. Adrian had interrupted Dante's speech, taken the microphone, and walked toward me with a smile that told the room he had already received my answer in private. He had not. The guests had applauded before he knelt. I remembered the weight of every face turning toward me, the hopeful expression on Adrian's aunt, the satisfied nod from Carlo Bellini, Dante's oldest friend and consigliere, the way Dante had stopped breathing at the head table. Adrian had opened the velvet box. "Sophia Bennett," he had said, "you have been beside this family through difficult years. You know our world, our responsibilities, and our future. Let me give you a permanent place in it. Marry me. Permanent place. Not love, not choice. A place." The room had waited. I had looked at Adrian, then at Dante. That was my mistake. Dante's eyes had met mine, and for one terrible second the composure he wore like armor had disappeared. There had been pain there. Not surprise. Not concern for his son. Pain. "No," I had said. The applause died so quickly I heard the ring box hinge close. Now I left the study and walked toward the ballroom expecting shouting. Instead, I found Adrian standing beneath the chandeliers with a champagne glass in his uninjured hand. Dante stood 10 feet away, rigid and silent. Everyone else pretended not to watch. Adrian raised the glass. "My apologies," he said smoothly. I allowed enthusiasm to replace good judgment. "Sophia has asked for time and she deserves it." It was a generous lie. It saved my dignity and preserved his. The guests released a collective breath. Polite laughter followed. The quartet began playing again. Only I could see how tightly Adrian held the stem of the glass. Carlo Bellini approached him first. Carlo was 58, silver-haired, broad through the shoulders, and warm in the way dangerous men often became after learning that smiles opened more doors than guns. He had stood beside Dante since they were teenagers. He was Adrian's godfather. He kissed Adrian's cheek, murmured something, and guided him toward a group of family captains. Then Carlo looked at me. His smile remained. His eyes did not. Dante crossed the ballroom and stopped at my side without touching me. "You should go home. This is my event. It is over for you. I still have staff, vendors, and security closeout. Marco can handle them." Marco Santoro, Dante's security chief, was capable of moving an army without raising his voice. He was not capable of distinguishing a final catering invoice from a florist deposit. "Marco thinks a purchase order is a suggestion." "I heard that," Marco said behind us. "You were meant to." Dante did not smile. His attention remained on Adrian across the room. "Go home, Sophia." "Are you ordering your employee or dismissing the woman who just embarrassed your son?" His gaze cut back to me. "I am trying to get you out of this house before someone decides tonight requires another spectacle." "Someone?" "Everyone in this room lives by appearances. You broke one." I refused a proposal. In this world, those can be the same thing. I wanted to ask what my confession had broken in him, but the ballroom was not safe for honesty. I collected my coat from the service hall and left through the east entrance. A black sedan waited beneath the porte-cochere. My assigned driver opened the rear door. I had just settled into the seat when my phone vibrated. The message came from an unknown number. There was no greeting, only a photograph. Dante stood inches from me inside his study, his tattooed hand against my throat, my face tilted toward his. The angle made the touch look intimate and possessive. Adrian was visible in the mirror behind us, watching from the doorway. Beneath the image, one sentence appeared. A king divided from his heir does not remain king for long. My blood went cold. Dante's study had no security cameras. I knew because I had approved the system myself. I called him. He answered on the first ring. What happened? I stared through the car window at the estate shrinking behind me. Someone was watching us. The sedan turned around before I finished the sentence. Dante was waiting at the east entrance when we returned. He had removed his jacket. The sleeves of his black shirt were rolled to his forearms, exposing more ink than he usually allowed anyone to see. Marco stood beside him with a tablet in one hand and a gun beneath his coat. Dante opened my door himself. Show me. I handed him the phone. His face did not change as he studied the photograph. That was worse than anger. Dante's fury became most precise when it disappeared from his expression. Where was Adrian standing? Marco asked. In the doorway. Could he have taken it? No, I said. Both his hands were visible when I saw him. The image was captured before he opened his fist. Dante enlarged the photograph. The mirror. The antique mirror behind the desk reflected Adrian and part of the opposite wall. In its upper corner, almost hidden by the carved frame, a tiny point of red light showed. Marco swore. There was a camera inside the molding, I said. Someone installed it after the last security inspection. Who had access? Dante asked. Family, household staff, your office team, approved contractors. Half the estate, Marco said. Not half. I took back the phone and examined the image metadata. The photograph was transmitted 7 minutes before I received it. Whoever sent it was still close enough to connect through the estate network. Marco touched his earpiece and ordered the gates sealed. Dante looked toward the ballroom windows. 180 guests. 180 suspects, Marco replied. 179, I said. Both men looked at me. I did not install the camera. Marco's mouth twitched. Dante did not appreciate the joke. He took my elbow and guided me inside. His grip was firm without being painful, but I pulled free before we reached the hall. Do not handle me because you are angry. His eyes dropped to the place where my arm had left his hand. I'm not angry with you. That does not make it better. For a moment, the corridor narrowed to the space between us. Then voices approached, and Dante rebuilt his distance. Carlo appeared with Adrian at his side. Adrian's palm had been bandaged. His expression was composed again, though the skin beneath his eyes had darkened. What is happening? Carlo asked. A security breach, Dante said. Carlo looked at my phone. Related to the proposal? Related to my study. Adrian's gaze flicked toward me. The study where Sophia explained her decision? Dante did not answer. Carlo's attention sharpened. How much was recorded? We do not know. Then assume everything. His response was immediate and sensible. That was why Dante trusted him. Carlo turned to Marco. Collect every phone before anyone leaves. Search the staff lockers. Review the contractor list from the last 30 days. I know my job, Marco said, and tonight someone did it better. The two men stared at each other. Dante ended the contest with a glance. Carlo is right. Lock down the network. Adrian looked at the photograph on my screen. His face became unreadable. Send it to me. No, I said. His gaze lifted. I am in it. You are also part of the investigation. The room went silent. Adrian's voice softened. Do you think I sent it? I think someone wants your father and you to turn against each other. I will not help them by making assumptions. That sounds diplomatic. It is accurate. Accuracy is what you offer when honesty would be impolite. Dante stepped forward. Enough, Adrian looked at him. You keep saying that as though one word can still control everything. Carlo placed a hand on Adrian's shoulder. This is not the time. No, Adrian said, shrugging him off. The right time was before I knelt. He walked away. Dante watched him go, but did not follow. That choice hurt Adrian. I saw it in the way his shoulders stiffened before he disappeared around the corner. I also saw what it cost Dante to remain still. Carlo waited until Adrian was gone. This can be contained, he said quietly. The guests believe Sophia asked for time. Tomorrow we release a statement that the proposal was private family business made public by enthusiasm. Nothing more. And the photograph? I asked. If it appears, we say Dante was confronting an employee after an inappropriate incident involving his son. Dante's head turned slowly. No, Carlo's brows rose. No. You will not make her the offender to protect us. I am describing the easiest narrative. It is not the one we will use. Carlo studied him for a second too long. Then he nodded. Of course. The response was respectful. The calculation behind it was not. Marco escorted me to a guest suite on the second floor after Dante refused to let me leave again. 2 guards took positions outside. I changed out of my evening dress and into clothes a housekeeper found in the staff wardrobe. Black pants and a gray sweater 1 size too large. At 2 a.m, I was still awake. My phone sat on the table beside the bed. Marco had copied the photograph and placed the device in a shielded case, but I could not stop seeing the image. Dante's hand at my throat. Adrian in the mirror. My own face turned toward a man I should never have wanted. A knock came at the door. Dante entered carrying 2 cups of coffee. You told me not to send anyone inside without permission, I said. I knocked. You also own the door. I own the house. The distinction matters. He placed 1 cup on the table. No sugar, a little milk. He knew. I remained near the window. Did you find the camera? Yes. Custom microlens inside the frame. No prints. It transmitted through a cloned staff credential. Whose? Yours. That made me turn. My access code? Someone copied it. Or you believe I did this? If I believed that, there would not be coffee. Your hospitality is reassuring. He leaned against the table, studying me. I should not have touched you. The directness caught me off guard. You did not hurt me. That is not the standard. No. I was angry, and I wanted the truth. You got it. His eyes darkened. Yes. The word settled between us. I folded my arms. What happens now? You take leave. No. You asked what happens. I answered. And I rejected the answer. This is not a proposal, Sophia. Good. The family has reached its limit for 1 evening. A brief, unwilling smile touched his mouth and vanished. Then he became serious again. Someone used your credentials to install surveillance in my private office. Someone photographed a moment that can damage you, Adrian, and the stability of this family. You cannot return to work as though nothing changed. My job is to manage crises, not when you are the crisis. The sentence struck harder than he intended. He saw it. I did not mean, you meant exactly what you said. I moved toward the door. He stepped in front of it without touching me. Sophia, move. Listen to me. I have listened to men explain my own life since I was 12. My father explained why leaving was better for everyone. Doctors explained why my mother's recovery depended on treatments we could not afford. Adrian explained what marrying him would give me. Now you are explaining that I am too involved to do the job you hired me to do. His expression changed at the mention of my father. I am trying to keep you alive. Then say that. Do not call me a crisis because you are afraid. Afraid of what? Of wanting the same thing I do. Silence filled the room. Dante's hands remained at his sides. That restraint was more intimate than a touch. You believe I have not thought about it? He asked. My breath caught. He looked toward the door, as if ensuring the guards could not hear through 2 inches of wood. I noticed you the first week you worked for me. Not because you were beautiful, though you were. Because a donor threw a glass at a waiter, and you stepped between them before security moved. You did not raise your voice. You took the donor's name off the seating chart, called his driver, refunded his table, and told him he would never attend another Romano event. He was drunk. He was a state senator. He was still drunk. Dante's gaze softened with the memory. You had been in the job 6 days. You did not fire me. I doubled your authority. You gave me more work. You smiled for an hour. I liked the work. I know. He took 1 step closer, then stopped. That is the problem. I know how you take your coffee. I know you rub your left thumb when you are lying. I know you call your mother every night at 9, even when she no longer remembers what day it is. I know you keep emergency cash inside the lining of your purse because your father once left without paying the rent. I know these things, and every one of them is something I should not need to know about my son's future wife. I was never his future wife. He believed you could be. You did too. I believed he would make you an offer. And you hoped I would accept? Dante looked at me for so long the answer became clear before he spoke. I hoped it would end what I wanted. Pain moved through me, quiet and sharp. So I was a solution. No. His voice roughened. You were the temptation. His proposal was the solution. I should have stepped away. Instead, I whispered, and now? Now someone knows enough to use us against each other. That is not what I asked. His eyes lowered to my mouth. Now I want something that would wound my son and place you beneath every accusation this family can invent. You still have not said whether you want me. He closed his eyes briefly. When he opened them, the control was back. Take the leave. He moved aside. I opened the door, then looked back. Your refusal sounds more like fear than honor. It is both. I returned to my room. At 9 the next morning, Carlo called an emergency family council. By 10, the photograph was online. The first site to publish it called me the heir's assistant and the Don's secret. By noon, the photograph had spread across every gossip account that survived on rumors about powerful men. Some posts claimed Dante had threatened me after I rejected Adrian. Others claimed I had been sleeping with both men for months. One invented a secret pregnancy before lunch. None of them asked me what had happened. The Romano family council met in the estate library at 10:30. 12 captains sat around the long table. Adrian took the chair at Dante's right. Carlo sat at his left. I stood near the presentation screen because no one had assigned me a seat. Dante noticed. He pulled out the empty chair beside him. Sit. Several men exchanged looks. I sat anyway. Carlo placed printed copies of the photograph on the table, as though anyone needed help remembering it. The problem is not scandal alone, he said. The photograph suggests division between the boss and his heir. Ventresca's people are already asking whether Romano leadership has become unstable. Carlo Bellini rarely named a threat without purpose. Victor Ventresca controlled the western freight yards and had spent a decade searching for a weakness in Dante's organization. Adrian leaned back in his chair. Then give them an answer. Dante looked at him. What answer? Adrian's gaze settled on me. Sophia and I announced that the proposal remains under consideration. You state that the photograph shows you intervening in a private disagreement. We appear together at the hospital benefit Friday. The story dies. You want me to pretend I may marry you? I said. I want you to correct the public humiliation. I did not create the camera. You created the moment. The room became very still. Dante's voice sharpened. Watch yourself. Adrian looked at him. You have warned me twice since last night. You have not warned her once. She did not ask a question in front of 180 people after deciding the answer for someone else. Adrian's hand flattened on the table. I had reason to believe she cared for me. I do care for you, I said. He laughed without humor. Please do not offer friendship as though it is a consolation prize. It is not a prize. It is the truth. The truth came late. Carlo raised a hand. We are not here to examine anyone's heart. We are here to contain damage. That is exactly the problem, I said. Everyone is treating my answer as damage. One of the older captains, Frank Gallo, shifted in his chair. With respect, Miss Bennett, private feelings become family business when they affect succession. I am an employee, not a territory. No one said otherwise. Then stop discussing where I should be placed. Dante's mouth almost moved. Adrian saw it. His face hardened. Carlo pushed the photographs aside. There is another option. Sophia leaves Romano employment immediately. Dante and Adrian appear together publicly. We describe the image as a personnel dispute. Distance removes the fuel. No, Dante said. Carlo frowned. You rejected that explanation last night. I reject sacrificing her career today. Adrian turned to his father. You will protect her job, but not my position. Your position is not threatened by a rejected proposal unless you make it so. You would know. The words struck the table like a thrown knife. Dante rose. Every man except Carlo and Adrian stood with him. Sit down, Dante said. Adrian remained on his feet. For a second, they looked less like father and son than two versions of the same danger separated by 21 years. I stood between them. Not physically. I was not foolish enough to place my body in that space. I put my voice there. Who benefits? Both men looked at me. Who benefits from this photograph? I continued. Not me, not Adrian. Not Dante. Someone installed a camera before the proposal. That means the confession was an opportunity, not the original plan. The person watching the study expected to capture something damaging no matter what happened. Carlo's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Go on. The camera used my staff credential. Whoever copied it wanted suspicion to fall on me if discovered. The image went public 12 hours after it was sent privately. The sender gave us time to react, watched what we did, then escalated. Testing the fracture, Carlo said. Exactly, Dante sat slowly. Adrian followed. I turned to Marco, who stood near the door. How many people knew Friday's hospital benefit was on Dante's private schedule? Family, senior security, executive office? Change it. To what? Do not cancel. Create 3 internal versions. One says Dante arrives at 7 through the north entrance. One says 7:30 through the ambulance bay. One says 8 through the foundation wing. Carlo understood first. A canary trap. If one version leaks, we know which access group was compromised. Adrian's gaze remained on me. And if none leak, then the breach is elsewhere. Dante looked around the table. Do it. The meeting ended without forcing me into a false engagement or resignation. That did not mean I had won. By afternoon, reporters waited outside my apartment. Dante refused to let me return there and assigned me a secure suite at the Romano Hotel in Midtown. I argued until Marco showed me a photograph of a man climbing my fire escape. I stopped arguing. The hotel suite occupied the 23rd floor. It had bullet-resistant windows, 2 exits, and a sitting room larger than my mother's entire apartment. I hated it immediately. Adrian arrived at 6. The security guard called before allowing him up. I almost said no. Then I remembered the cut in his palm. He entered without a jacket, his white shirt open at the collar. The bandage had been replaced. I brought no ring, he said. I noticed. No flowers either. That is progress. He looked around the suite. He put you in his hotel. Security did. He is security. Why are you here, Adrian? The direct question stripped away his attempt at calm. He walked to the window. I heard every word in the study. I know. You did not know until I opened the door. No. So, before that, you intended to tell him and let me discover it later. I intended to answer a question. I did not intend any of this. He turned. Did you ever consider saying yes? Yes. The admission surprised him. When? Months ago. You were kind to my mother. You made me laugh. You understand this world without needing every silence explained. I thought affection might become enough. Might. I kept waiting to feel what you had already decided I felt. His expression tightened. And instead you wanted him. Yes. Since when? I thought of late nights in the office. Dante leaving food on my desk without comment, because he knew I had skipped dinner. I thought of him standing outside the rehabilitation center during my mother's worst week, never entering because he knew she frightened easily around strangers. I thought of the night he asked what I wanted to become after spending years asking what I needed to finish. I do not know. That means a long time. It means there was no single moment. Adrian looked down at his bandaged hand. Do you know what it is like to compete with him? This is not a competition. It always is. He enters a room and every man measures himself against him. Every woman notices him first. Every decision becomes a test of whether I can become what he already is. I did not reject you because you were less powerful. No, you rejected me because I was not him. The truth made denial impossible. Adrian moved closer, stopping several feet away. He will never choose you. The sentence was cruel because it was delivered gently. You do not know that. I know my father. He loved my mother. When she died, he buried the part of himself capable of offering anyone a normal life. He may want you. He may even convince himself restraint is noble. But when he has to choose between you and this family, he will choose the family. Did Carlo tell you that? His eyes shifted. The movement was small. I noticed. Why would you ask about Carlo? Because you sound like him when you talk about the family as though it is a living thing that must be fed. Carlo helped raise me. He also proposed 3 different ways to erase me from the scandal. He proposed solutions. Solutions that protect Romano. Men. Adrian's mouth hardened. You think everyone is manipulating me. I think you are hurt enough to listen to anyone who tells you the pain is proof you were wronged. He stepped closer. And what am I supposed to call what happened? A rejection. His face changed. I continued before fear could soften me. You are allowed to be angry. You are allowed to hate me for embarrassing you. You are not allowed to treat my no as theft. For several seconds, he said nothing. Then he reached into his pocket and placed a key card on the table. What is that? Access to the private garage. Reporters cannot see the exit. Why are you giving it to me? Because despite what you think, I do not want you trapped here. He walked to the door. Adrian, he paused. Did you know about the camera? His back remained to me. No, the answer came 1 beat too late. He left. At 7:15, my phone received a news alert. A gossip account had posted that Dante Romano would arrive at Friday's hospital benefit at 7:30 through the ambulance bay. That was the schedule version sent only to the Romano family group. Adrian, Carlo, and 4 blood relatives had access. The trap had worked. It had also made the danger smaller in number and far more personal. I called Marco first. He arrived with 2 security officers and a sealed laptop. 10 minutes later, Dante entered the suite alone. He had changed from his suit into a black overcoat, but the city rain still darkened his shoulders. He looked from me to the alert on the screen. Which version? He asked. Family group. Who had it? Adrian, Carlo, your sister, 2 cousins, and you. I did not leak my own schedule. Your confidence is helpful. His eyes lifted to mine. You are angry. I am deciding whether your son lied to my face or someone used his access. Marco opened the laptop. The message left the family server through Adrian's device at 6:42. Dante became motionless. Where is he? His apartment, Marco said. 2 men are outside. Bring him. No, I said. Both men turned. If you drag him here under guard, he will arrive as your heir being accused by his boss. Let me speak to him first. Dante's voice cooled. Absolutely not. He came here voluntarily. He may answer me. He may also be the person who placed a camera in my study. I do not think he is. You have known about his feelings longer than I have. The accusation was quiet. I stared at him. You think I am protecting him? I think you feel guilty. I do. Guilt is not blindness. Dante looked toward Marco. Give us the room. Marco hesitated. Now, the security men left with him. Dante waited until the door closed. Tell me why you believe Adrian. I believe he lied about knowing something. I do not believe he built the entire operation. The camera was installed before the proposal. Adrian expected me to say yes. He had no reason to prepare evidence of my confession. He could have wanted proof of rejection. Then why use my credential? Why send the photograph to me first? Why leak only after seeing our response? Dante paced once toward the window. Because someone is using him. Or using his access. He is not a child. I did not say he was innocent. Dante turned sharply. Do not defend him to me. I am not defending him. I am asking you not to make the mistake you make every time he disappoints you. His face hardened. You know nothing about how I raised my son. I know he studies your reactions before he trusts his own. I know he treats love like a position he can earn, because that is how you taught him to understand worth. I know he proposed in front of a room because public approval matters to him more than private certainty. Dante came closer. And now you are an expert on both of us? No. I am the woman standing between the damage. His voice dropped. You are not between us. Look at the photograph. He did. Adrian behind us. Dante's hand on me. 3 lives arranged in one frame. Dante's shoulders lowered by a fraction. I should have been more of a father after Isabella died, he said. It was the first time he had spoken his wife's name to me. Adrian had been 12 when a bomb beneath the family car killed her. Dante survived because he had taken a separate vehicle to a meeting. Everyone in the organization knew the facts. No one discussed the grief. What were you instead? I asked. Alive. The answer carried 20 years of punishment. He walked to the bar but did not pour a drink. Adrian woke in the hospital asking for his mother. I told him crying would not bring her back. I put security outside his room and went hunting for the men responsible. Did you find them? Some. And the others? Men like me always leave enough enemies for the next generation. I moved closer, careful not to touch him. He did not need an heirs lesson in that hospital. I know. Do you? Dante looked at me, and the grief beneath his control was older than Adrian. I taught him never to reveal what could be used against him. Then I wondered why he never told me when he was afraid. The room fell quiet. My anger remained, but it changed shape. Let me call him. Dante's mouth tightened. If he refuses, you can bring him in. After a long moment, he nodded. Adrian answered on the fourth ring. Sophia, I need to see you. A pause. My father is with you. Yes. Then this is not a conversation. It can be. Come to the hotel alone. You expect me to walk into his building after accusing him of wanting my future wife? I was never your future wife. His breathing changed. I softened my voice without changing the truth. Come because someone used your phone to leak a schedule. If you did it, tell me before your father's men reach you. If you did not, someone close to you wants him to believe you did. The line remained silent. Then he said, 20 minutes. He arrived in 18. Dante waited in the bedroom with the connecting door open. Adrian knew he was there. Pretending otherwise would have been insulting. I placed the laptop on the table. The hospital schedule left your device at 6:42. Adrian did not sit. I sent it. My stomach tightened. Who received it? Carlo. Dante appeared in the doorway. Adrian looked at him without surprise. You were listening. This is my hotel. That answer explains more than you think. Dante crossed the room. Why did you send my private schedule to Carlo? Because he asked. Dante's face went blank. Adrian gave a bitter smile. There it is. The look you save for stupidity. Carlo already had access to the family schedule. He said he needed the exact route to prepare a response if Ventresca used the scandal to stage a protest. Carlo does not manage security. He has managed every other disaster you were too proud to acknowledge. Dante's hands curled. I stepped between the lines of their sight. Did Carlo ask for anything else? Adrian looked at me. Copies of the guest list. Names of captains who supported postponing the hospital benefit. He wanted to measure loyalty. Did you give them? Yes. Did you give him the study recording? No. But you knew there was a recording. His silence answered. Dante moved so fast Adrian barely had time to brace before his father pinned him against the wall by the collar. Dante. He did not hear me. You knew someone had watched us, he said. You watched her walk out of that house while a stranger held evidence that could destroy her. Adrian's face flushed beneath the pressure. I found out after the photograph reached her. Carlo told me he had a source inside security. He said he would contain it. You believed him? I believed my godfather over the man who had just taken the woman I intended to marry. I took nothing from you. You wanted her. Dante's grip tightened. Yes, the word stopped all three of us. Dante released Adrian. No one moved. Adrian rubbed his throat. At least you finally said it. Dante's voice remained low. Wanting her does not make her mine. Convenient principle after she chose you. I have not accepted her choice. The sentence hit me like a slap. Adrian looked at me and saw it. Something close to satisfaction crossed his face, then shame. Dante turned toward me. That is not what I meant. It sounded clear. I meant I will not act on it while you work for me, while you are under my protection, and while my son is bleeding from a wound we created. We? His eyes closed for a second. Adrian laughed harshly. Do not worry, Sophia. He can make rejection sound like sacrifice. Stop, I said. Both men looked at me. I pointed at the door. Adrian, leave your phone. His brows rose. Marco will check it. If Carlo used your device, we need proof. You still think I am being used. I think you helped someone hurt us, because you wanted your pain validated. The truth landed. His gaze dropped. He placed the phone on the table. At the door, he looked back at Dante. Carlo was there when my mother died. You were not. Then he left. Dante stood perfectly still. What did he mean? I asked. Carlo reached the hospital before me. Because you were hunting. Yes. You left your 12-year-old son with the man, who later taught him to hide information from you. Dante's expression hardened against himself. Marco entered minutes later and took the phone. By midnight, he found a hidden application installed beneath a routine security update. It had copied messages, calendars, and microphone access for 3 weeks. Carlo Bellini had not merely asked Adrian for information. He had turned the heir's phone into a listening device. Dante ordered Carlo found. Carlo's townhouse was empty. His guards were gone. So were $3 million from a Romano emergency account. At 1 a.m, another photograph reached every family captain. It showed Dante and me in the hotel suite, standing close near the window, while Adrian's reflection remained visible on the laptop screen. The caption read, "The father takes the woman. The son sells the father." By sunrise, Victor Ventresca had requested an emergency meeting of the 5 families. Dante stood in the center of the suite, reading the demand. "You are leaving the city," he said. "No. This is no longer a discussion. It never is with you." He crossed to the desk and placed a passport, keys, and a bank card in front of me. "There is a house in Vermont under a clean company. Marco's sister will meet you there. The account is in your name. No one will track you." I stared at the items. "You prepared this before today." "I prepared it the first month you worked for me." "Why?" "Because I prepare exits for everyone I cannot afford to lose." The answer broke through my anger. Dante looked exhausted. "Carlo knows our procedures." "He knows, Adrian. He knows you matter to me. Staying near me makes you a target. Sending me away makes me a weakness everyone can move. I do not care what they think. You care enough to face 5 families tomorrow. I care whether you are alive." Afterward, he took my coat from the chair and held it out. I did not take it. "Are you sending me away because you do not want me?" His face changed. "No." "Then say the rest." He set down the coat. "I am sending you away because I want you enough to become selfish." The room seemed to lose sound. Dante continued before I could answer. "If you stay, I will look for reasons to keep you close. I will call protection what is really fear. I will use every danger as proof that you need my house, my men, and eventually me. I know what power does when desire gives it permission." No man had ever warned me against himself with that much honesty. I stepped toward him. He did not move. "You forgot one thing." "What?" "I know where the exits are." I placed one hand against his chest. His heart struck hard beneath my palm. "And I am still here. Sophia, I am not asking you to own my decision." He lowered his forehead toward mine, but stopped before touching. "If I kiss you now, everything becomes harder. It is already hard. Adrian is responsible for his feelings. So am I." I rose onto my toes and kissed him. For one heartbeat, Dante did nothing. Then one hand closed around my waist, and the other came to the back of my neck, not controlling, only holding. The kiss remained careful for 3 seconds and desperate after that. Years of restraint broke without becoming violence. He tasted like coffee and regret. He pulled away first. His breathing was rough. "This cannot happen again until you are no longer my employee. Then, fire me. I would rather dismantle the company." Dramatic? "You kissed a mafia boss while his son's godfather was planning a coup. You have poor timing." A sound escaped him that was almost laughter. Then Marco burst through the door. "Boss, we have a problem." Dante's hands dropped from me. Marco held up his tablet. A live photograph of our kiss filled the screen. Carlo had been watching through Adrian's compromised phone even after it was left on the table. And the emergency meeting had been moved from tomorrow to that night. The emergency meeting took place beneath St. Michael's, a deconsecrated church the 5 families had used for negotiations since before I was born. No phones were allowed inside. No weapons were supposed to be allowed either. which meant every man carried one carefully enough not to be searched. Dante wanted me gone before the convoy left. I entered the armored sedan ahead of him. He stared at me through the open door. "You are no longer employed by Romano Logistics." "Effective when?" 10 minutes ago." "Then you cannot order me out of the car." Marco looked away to hide a smile. Dante got in beside me and shut the door harder than necessary. Adrian traveled in the vehicle behind us. He had insisted on attending despite Dante's refusal. Carlo was his godfather, his betrayer, and possibly the man destroying his inheritance. Nothing short of restraints would have kept him away, and Dante had already done enough damage by treating his adult son like a threat to be contained. The church basement smelled of stone, candle wax, and old rain. 5 bosses sat beneath a carved wooden cross no priest had touched in decades. Their heirs and advisors stood behind them. Victor Ventresca occupied the center chair opposite Dante. He was 60, narrow-faced, and elegant enough to make cruelty look civilized. His gaze moved from Dante to Adrian, then to me. "A family disagreement has become a citywide spectacle," he said. "Romano routes are being delayed. Partners are questioning signatures. Men are choosing which of you to obey." "No Romano man has received conflicting orders," Dante replied. "Not yet." Ventresca placed the photographs on the table. Adrian's proposal, Dante's hand at my throat, our kiss, a complete emotional collapse arranged in 3 images. "Your son intended to marry this woman," Ventresca said. "You interfered." "I rejected Adrian before Dante touched me," I said. Ventresca looked at Dante instead of me. "Does she always speak during family business?" "When the business is her life." That drew attention around the table. Ventresca leaned back. "Then speak, Miss Bennett. Did Dante Romano use his position to pressure you?" "No. Did Adrian?" The room tightened. Adrian looked at me. "He proposed publicly after I had asked for a private conversation," I said. "That was pressure. It was not force." "Did you encourage him?" "I cared for him. I did not promise marriage." "And you prefer his father?" "Yes." The single word created more silence than any speech could have. Ventresca smiled faintly. "How modern." "No, just honest." One of the other bosses, Elena Russo, tapped a ring against the table. "Honesty does not solve succession." "Adrian's judgment is compromised. Dante's is worse. Carlo Bellini has vanished with money and intelligence. Someone attacked the family from inside." "Carlo installed surveillance through Adrian's phone," Marco said. "We have the application and transmission records." Adrian stepped forward. I gave him schedule information. The admission changed the room. Dante's head turned, but Adrian kept his attention on the 5 bosses. I believed he was protecting the family from the scandal. I was angry and arrogant enough to hear loyalty in whatever agreed with me. That failure is mine. The surveillance and theft are his. Ventresca's expression became almost sympathetic. A difficult confession. It is not a request for sympathy. For the first time that night, Dante looked at his son with something other than anger. Ventresca spread his hands. "Carlo is absent. We have only the word of a wounded heir and a compromised boss. You also have me," I said. He gave me a patient look. "You are the source of the compromise." "No, I am the bait someone used." I walked to the photographs and turned them toward the room. These images were released in stages. The first separated Dante from Adrian emotionally. The second showed Adrian leaking information. The third made reconciliation impossible by humiliating him publicly. Carlo did not expose one affair. He built a sequence designed to make every person here believe the Romano family had already broken. Elena Russo studied the photographs. "Why?" "Because frightened partners move money. Captains choose sides. Rivals test routes. Carlo stole $3 million, but that amount is too small to be the goal. He wants the organization unstable long enough to sell access to it." Ventresca's face remained smooth. I looked at him, and someone outside the family promised to buy. Dante noticed the direction of my gaze. So did Ventresca. Before anyone could answer, the lights went out. Marco shouted, "Down!" Gunfire tore through the stained glass windows at street level. Men overturned the table. Stone dust filled the air. Dante pulled me behind a pillar, while Adrian fired toward the stairwell. The attackers were not trying to enter. They were forcing us toward the eastern exit. Ambush route, I said. Dante looked at me. The north door is exposed. The east tunnel leads to the alley. They want the convoy there. Marco heard. He shouted for everyone to hold position. A second explosion shook the church. Part of the ceiling collapsed near Ventresca's chair. Panic defeated discipline. 2 bosses and their guards rushed toward the tunnel. Dante grabbed my face between his hands. Stay with Marco. Where are you going? To get Adrian. His son had moved toward the stairs after one of Carlo's former guards appeared above us. Dante crossed open ground as bullets struck stone around him. I saw the shooter turn. I saw the angle before anyone else. Dante. He looked back. The bullet hit beneath his left shoulder and spun him to the floor. The world narrowed. I ran. Marco covered me while Adrian shot the man on the stairs. I reached Dante and pressed both hands against the wound. Blood pushed hot between my fingers. Exit wound? I asked. Dante tried to sit. Stay down. Sophia, answer me. No. The bullet remained inside. Marco reached us. The tunnel is compromised. The old sacristy, I said. There is a service lift behind the north wall. He stared at me. I planned the foundation restoration dinner here last year. The caterers used it. We dragged Dante through the sacristy while Adrian and Marco held the corridor. The lift descended to a storage level connected to the neighboring rectory. I called the driver assigned to the third version of our hospital schedule, the one no attacker should have known, and directed him to a side street. When the sedan arrived, I put Dante on the floor in the back and climbed beside him. Hospital, the driver said. No, Dante's eyes opened. The benefit schedule leaked through the ambulance bay route, I said. If Carlo planned this, hospitals are watched. West 49th, Dante whispered. Blue door. Marco understood. The safe apartment above a closed tailor shop belonged to no Romano company. Only Dante, Marco, and apparently one driver knew it existed. Adrian arrived 5 minutes after us with blood on his collar that was not his. I cut Dante's shirt away, while Marco called a surgeon who owed the family more than money. The bullet had entered high and missed the lung, but blood loss made Dante's skin gray. Keep pressure, the surgeon instructed over the phone. I am. Dante's hand closed around my wrist. You should have gone to Vermont. You should have ducked. Adrian. He is here. His eyes found his son near the door. Adrian looked 12 years old for 1 second. Then the surgeon arrived, and everyone except me was pushed from the room. Dante refused anesthesia until I promised not to leave. The bullet came out 40 minutes later. When the surgeon finished, Dante slept beneath a thin blanket in a room that smelled of antiseptic and dust. Adrian stood at the kitchen window. You saved him, he said. So did you. I led Carlo to the route. You did. He looked at me, perhaps expecting comfort. I did not give him false absolution. He told me Ventresca planned to challenge Father tonight, Adrian said. He said the ambulance entrance was the only route he could secure without Marco knowing. Why would security need to be hidden from the security chief? Because I wanted to believe someone trusted my judgment more than Father's. The honesty made him look older. I hated him when I heard you, Adrian continued. Not because he touched you, because you spoke to him like a man, and you always spoke to me like someone you were trying not to hurt. I should have been clearer. I should have listened before clarity became humiliation. We stood in silence. Then he said, Carlo was at the hospital the night my mother died. He held my hand. He told me my father had chosen revenge over me. Dante thought he was making you safe. He made Carlo necessary. Dante's voice came from the doorway, and Carlo made sure you remembered it. He stood unsteadily with one hand against the frame. I crossed the room. You are supposed to be in bed. I have ignored better doctors. You have not met a more stubborn coordinator. Former coordinator. Adrian looked between us. Dante's attention settled on his son. Did Carlo ever speak about Isabella's route the night she died? Adrian frowned. Sometimes. He said the driver changed it without authorization. The driver did not. How do you know? I ordered the change. The room chilled. Dante continued. Only 3 people knew the new route. Me, Marco, and Carlo. Adrian's face emptied. He told me the bombers followed her from the house. They were waiting on the changed road. Carlo had not simply exploited old grief. He might have created it. A sound came from the stairwell. One soft click. Marco drew his gun. The lights died. This time the darkness lasted less than a second before emergency lamps glowed red. A canister crashed through the kitchen window. Smoke filled the room. Dante pulled me down, but pain weakened him. Adrian fired toward the glass. Marco shouted that men were on the stairs. Carlo had found the safe apartment. Only 4 people had known the address. Then I saw the driver collapse near the door, a needle embedded in his neck. Carlo had not tracked Adrian. He had owned the driver. I grabbed Dante's gun from the table and pushed it into Adrian's hand. Get him through the rear roof access. What about you? I will trigger the fire door and follow. Dante caught my arm. No, the stairwell door burst inward. I slammed the emergency lever. A steel barrier dropped between the kitchen and rear hall, separating me from Dante, Adrian, and Marco. Sophia! Dante struck the barrier. I ran toward the second lever across the smoke-filled room. A man caught me from behind before I reached it. I drove my heel into his knee and threw my head backward. Bone cracked. He released me long enough for me to turn, but another man pressed a cloth over my mouth. The last thing I saw through the narrow window in the steel barrier was Dante beating his bleeding hands against the glass while Adrian dragged him toward the roof. Then the red lights disappeared. I woke with my wrists bound to a chair and the taste of chemicals in my throat. A chandelier hung above me beneath a stained canvas cover. Rows of overturned tables disappeared into darkness. Dust softened the marble floor, but I knew the room. The Belmont Hotel ballroom. Romano Logistics had bought the abandoned property 8 months earlier. I had spent 6 weeks planning a restoration fundraiser there before permits failed and the project was suspended. I knew every service corridor, fire door, control panel, and loading entrance. Carlo had chosen a prison I had already mapped. He stood near the stage in a gray suit, speaking quietly into a phone. 4 armed men watched the exits. Victor Ventresca sat at a table beneath the balcony, one sleeve dark with blood from the church attack. So the outside buyer had shown his face. Carlo ended the call and approached me. I always admired your composure. You hid a camera in your best friend's study. I admired your composure, not your manners. Dante is alive. His smile thinned. For now, you missed his heart. I did not fire the shot. No, you prefer other people to carry your guilt. Ventresca laughed from the table. Carlo ignored him. You were supposed to accept Adrian's proposal. The photograph would have shown Dante's jealousy, Adrian's insecurity, and your discomfort. Enough pressure to create questions. Your confession improved the material. You built a coup around a marriage proposal. I built it around the oldest weakness in powerful families. Fathers assume sons will obey. Sons assume inheritance equals love. Women are expected to make both beliefs comfortable. And when they do not, men destroy each other. He crouched in front of me. Dante should have died at St. Michael's. Adrian would have inherited in shock and leaned on the godfather who raised him. Ventresca would have received the Western Docks. I would have managed the rest. You underestimate Adrian. I understand him better than his father ever tried to. You understand the wound you kept open. Carlo's eyes changed. I continued. You were at the hospital when Isabella died. You told Adrian Dante chose revenge over him. You made yourself necessary. He stood. Dante told you. He finally told his son. For the first time, Carlo looked uncertain. Then he smiled. Too late. Did you order the bomb? Ventresca glanced toward him. The question mattered to more than me. Carlo walked to the covered window. Isabella discovered I was moving money through the construction unions. She intended to tell Dante after a charity dinner. I gave a driver one road and Dante gave him another. Fortunately, I had access to both. The confession came without remorse. My stomach turned. You killed your best friend's wife. I removed the only person who could make him question me, and left her child alive. A grieving boy is easier to shape than a dead one. Ventresca's expression tightened. Even he had not known all of it. Carlo looked back at me. Adrian is coming. I offered him a simple choice. Bring his father, receive you and the empire. He will not. He already betrayed Dante for less. That was true. It was also no longer the whole truth. Carlo's men had tied my wrists with plastic restraints. The edge of the chair's metal support pressed against the right band. Each time Carlo looked away, I worked the plastic across it. Slowly, quietly. The Belmont's ballroom had once hosted political conventions. A control room behind the upper balcony connected the microphones, projectors, and emergency system. During our canceled fundraiser, I had insisted the old equipment be modernized before decorative work began. The building looked dead. Its network was not. My phone and watch were gone, but a microphone stood on the stage 10 feet from Carlo. If I reached the control room, I could send his voice farther than he intended. A vehicle entered the loading dock below. Carlo's men straightened. He lifted his gun. Places. Ventresca moved behind a pillar. The plastic around my right wrist snapped. I kept my hands together. Adrian entered through the ballroom doors alone. He wore no coat. Blood marked one side of his shirt, but his steps remained steady. Carlo smiled. Where is your father? In the car. Wounded? Yes. And unguarded? Marco is dead. My heart stopped. Adrian did not look at me. Carlo approached him. I knew you would understand eventually. I understand more than I did this morning. Good. Bring Dante inside. Adrian's gaze finally met mine. There was an apology in it, and a warning. I moved my freed hand behind the chair and pulled the second restraint across the broken plastic edge. Carlo raised his phone. One message, and my men bring your father. Adrian said, Before I give you anything, I want the truth about my mother. The room changed. Carlo's smile faded. Dante filled your head while bleeding. He said you knew her route. I knew every family route. He said only 3 men knew the change. Carlo's patience thinned. Your father is trying to move guilt from himself to me. Then tell me he lied. Carlo looked at the armed men around him. He believed the room belonged to him. He failed Isabella long before the bomb, he said. I only made the failure permanent. Pain crossed Adrian's face, but he did not lower his gaze. You killed her. I gave you the father you needed to become strong. No, you gave me a wound and taught me to call you medicine. The second restraint broke. I slid from the chair as the nearest guard looked toward Adrian. I drove the chair into his knees, caught his falling weapon, and ran for the service door. Gunfire cracked behind me. I did not turn. The service stairs climbed to the balcony. I reached the control room, slammed the door, and entered the emergency code I had created months earlier. The system woke. Monitors flashed blue. Microphones activated. The ballroom appeared on 3 screens. A remote event platform opened automatically. Before the project was suspended, I had built a one-touch broadcast function for donors unable to attend. The saved recipient list still included every Romano captain, every Allied family office, and several city officials. I pressed live. Carlo's voice filled the control room speakers. Your mother made the same mistake Sophia is making. She believed truth protected people. Adrian stood near the center aisle with his gun raised. Carlo held his own weapon toward him. It only gives powerful men a reason to kill. The broadcast counter climbed. 20 viewers. 43. 70. Ventresca noticed the red light on the stage camera. We are live. Carlo looked toward the balcony. I switched on the ballroom microphones. You wanted an audience, I said through the speakers. Now you have one. His gun rose toward the control room. The glass shattered beside my head. I dropped and triggered the emergency fire sequence. Steel doors descended across the side exits, separating Ventresca from half his men. Sprinklers exploded overhead. White emergency lights flooded the room. The loading doors opened. Dante walked in. He was pale beneath his black coat, one arm held close to his wounded side. Marco moved beside him, very much alive, with 6 loyal guards behind them. Adrian had lied well. Carlo fired first. Dante's men returned fire. Ventresca disappeared behind the stage. I left the control room and moved along the balcony toward the rear stairs, keeping low. Below, father and son fought toward each other through smoke and water. Carlo retreated to the stage. Adrian reached him first. They struck the floor together. Carlo was older but stronger than he looked. He drove Adrian into the stage edge and raised his gun. Dante aimed from the aisle. Carlo pulled Adrian against his chest as a shield. "Drop it," he shouted. Dante stopped. The live cameras continued recording. Carlo pressed the gun beneath Adrian's jaw. "Your son brought you here to trade your life for a woman." "No," Dante said. "He brought me here because you taught him betrayal and forgot he could still choose differently." Carlo looked up toward me on the stairs. "Come down, Sophia, or he dies." Dante's eyes found mine. He gave the smallest shake of his head. Adrian said, "Do not." Carlo struck him with the gun. I descended one step. "Sophia," Dante warned. "I know where the exits are." Carlo smiled. She always did mistake defiance for power. "No," I said. "You mistook control for loyalty." I looked toward the stage monitor. Carlo followed my gaze. The broadcast counter showed 136 viewers. His confession had already escaped the building. Ventresca stepped from behind the curtain with his hands raised. "This arrangement is over." Carlo stared at him. "Coward." "Practical." Ventresca's remaining men lowered their weapons. Carlo's empire disappeared in their silence. His grip on Adrian shifted. That was the opening. Adrian drove his elbow backward. Dante fired. Carlo twisted, and the bullet struck his shoulder instead of his chest. Carlo fired toward Dante. Adrian moved between them. The shot hit Adrian below the ribs. Dante's face broke. He crossed the distance before Carlo could fire again, knocked the weapon aside, and drove him to the floor. Carlo reached for a knife. I reached the stage first and kicked it beyond his hand. Dante pressed his gun against Carlo's chest. For 1 second, everything waited. Carlo smiled through blood. "You will kill your oldest friend in front of your son." Dante looked at Adrian lying on the floor. "No," he said. "I am killing the man who murdered his mother." The shot ended the room's last argument. Dante dropped beside Adrian. His hands shook as he pressed them against the wound. "Stay with me." Adrian's face had gone gray. "You sound afraid," he whispered. "I am." The honesty made Adrian blink. Dante bent closer. "I should have told you that 20 years ago." Adrian tried to breathe around the pain. "I did terrible things." "So did I." "I wanted her because choosing me would mean I had finally beaten you at something." I knelt on his other side. "You also cared for me. Not well enough to hear no." The words cost him. Sirens approached outside. This time they belonged to a private medical team Marco had called before entering. Adrian looked at Dante. "Do not leave to hunt anyone." Dante's eyes filled. "I am not going anywhere." He held his son's hand until the medics took over. Adrian survived. The bullet missed his liver by less than an inch. He spent 3 days in intensive care and another week in a private hospital wing, guarded by men who had finally learned that security and secrecy were not the same thing. Carlo's confession destroyed what remained of his support. Ventresca surrendered the stolen accounts and denied involvement in the bombing until federal investigators received a copy of the live broadcast, along with records Marco recovered from Carlo's townhouse. Powerful men abandoned him with impressive speed. Dante visited Adrian every day. He did not discuss succession. He sat. At first they spoke about doctors, weather, and the terrible hospital coffee. Then they spoke about Isabella. Dante told Adrian stories he had withheld, because remembering hurt. Adrian admitted how often Carlo had used his father's silence as evidence of indifference. Neither man forgave the other quickly. That made their reconciliation real. On the morning Adrian left the hospital, I found him fastening his coat near the window. "You are leaving New York," I said. "For a while. The family owns a legitimate shipping office in Lisbon. It needs someone who knows how not to run it." "You know how." "I know how to pretend." He looked healthier, though movement still pulled at his wound. "I resigned as heir." "Did Dante accept?" "He said the position would exist if I wanted to earn it later, not inherit it." I hated the distinction. And now? Now I understand it. He faced me fully. "I am sorry, Sophia. For the proposal? For assuming kindness was permission? For helping Carlo? For trying to make your choice a judgment of my worth?" I nodded. "I am sorry I waited too long to be direct." "You were direct in front of everyone." Despite myself, I smiled. Adrian did too. Then he became serious. "He loves you." "I know." He will still find a noble reason to ruin it. I know that too. He kissed my cheek, gently and without claim. Make him work harder than I did. Dante waited for me in the hospital garden. Winter had begun to loosen. Water moved beneath thin ice in the fountain. He wore a dark suit, one shoulder still stiff from the bullet wound. You fired me, I said. I did. You never sent the paperwork. It is in my car. Romantic. I am trying not to be. He handed me a folder. Inside were my final salary, a generous severance calculated from 3 years of emergency hours, full transfer of the crisis planning portfolio I had built, and letters releasing every client to work with me independently. No house, no secret account, no gift disguised as freedom, only the value of work I had already done. I removed Romano security from your mother's facility, he said. A private service chosen by you can take over. Your apartment has been cleared. No one will follow you unless you ask. I closed the folder. You are giving me an exit. I am making sure it is real. And what do you want? His eyes held mine. You. The word carried none of the hesitation from the study. But wanting you is not permission to make your world smaller. Leave. Build the company you talked about before my life consumed your plans. Decide what remains when there is no danger forcing you toward me. You could ask me to stay. I could. But you will not. His mouth tightened. If you stay today, some part of you will always wonder whether fear made the decision. I understood. That did not make leaving painless. I stepped close and touched the scar near his shoulder through the suit. How long? As long as you need. What if I do not come back? His gaze did not move. Then I will know your choice was free. I kissed him once. No urgency. No hidden camera. No sun in the doorway. Then I left. 6 months later, Bennett Crisis Management occupied 2 rooms above a bookstore in Brooklyn and had 7 clients who did not know or care that Dante Romano once signed my paychecks. My mother still confused Tuesday with Sunday, but she remembered the yellow flowers I brought every week. Adrian sent postcards from Lisbon without declarations or apologies. Marco referred 3 clients and denied doing it. Dante kept his promise. He did not call. He did not send guards. He did not arrange accidental meetings. His absence hurt more than pursuit would have. That was how I knew I missed the man, not the protection. The Romano Foundation's summer benefit was held on the hotel roof where I had first reorganized a disaster 3 years earlier. My company had not been hired. I attended as a guest. Dante stood near the garden wall beneath strings of warm lights. He saw me before I reached him. The city's most feared man forgot the conversation beside him. Sophia, you look surprised. You told Marco you were declining. I changed my mind. His eyes searched my face, careful even now. Why did you come back? I stopped close enough to see the pulse in his throat. For the same reason I rejected your son. Something warm and dangerous entered his expression. He waited. I made him. Then I whispered, because I still want you. His hand rose slowly. He did not touch me until I nodded. Then his tattooed fingers settled against the side of my neck, exactly where they had the night everything broke. This time there was no question in his grip and no fear in my answer. What do you want from me? He asked. Not a position, not protection, not a permanent place you designed before asking me. His thumb moved over my pulse. Then what? You, the man who stayed beside his son instead of leaving to hunt. The man who gave me an exit and did not follow. The man who finally learned that love is not something he can command. Dante lowered his forehead to mine. And what does that man get? A choice. Which is? I smiled. Ask me to dinner. For the first time, Dante Romano laughed without restraint. Heads turned across the rooftop. He ignored them. Dinner, Sophia Bennett? Yes. No audience. No ring. Good. No promises I have not earned. Better. He kissed me beneath the summer lights while the city continued below us, loud and dangerous, and unable to decide for us. Once, Adrian had offered me a place inside a powerful family. Dante had offered me freedom from one. I returned only when I understood that love was not proven by the power a man used to keep you. It was proven by the power he refused to use when you walked away. And I chose freely.